power creator Courtney Kemp has a new crime drama on her hands. Everybody is talking about it. It is starring Matthew Law and Elon Newell. So we are going to join the conversation.
Live from the intersection of culture, entertainment, music, and vibes, you're tapped into Control TV Network. Original voices, real conversations, unfiltered energy. This is Control TV.
Hey everybody, I'm El Marie, entertainment host and entertainment journalist, and I am here with my homegirl TK Trinidad. TK.
What it do? What's up? What's up? Sorry for the hair. I don't know what, when you have these curls, it just decides to be big today. So it is what it is.
Girls have a mind of their own. I love it.
Mm-hmm. So I'm excited.
Alrighty, well, same here. Like I said, everybody has been talking about Nemesis, so let's join the conversation. I want to kick it off by talking about the main characters a little bit. So Matthew Law, who plays Isaiah Stiles, who is a detective, who basically has this vendetta against Coltrane Wilder. And the show has been out for a few weeks now, so I'm going to say we'll probably have some spoilers. Again, let's just talk and join the conversation. So again, spoilers will be ahead. So Coltrane is a criminal. And the thing is, Isaiah believes that Coltrane is responsible for his partner being killed. He's responsible for all these robberies and heists going on in the LA area. And again, he's trying to arrest him and get him locked up and off the streets. But Coltrane is too smooth for that. So let's get into talking about the episodes, kicking it off with episode 1, which starts off at a Halloween party. Coltrane is dressed up 90s vibe. So is his wife, Ebony. And fun fact about this is what did you think about the opening episode, TK? Or the opening credits of the first episode, I should say.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what's going on here? Like, how is this like what's gonna happen? Like, it definitely gave me like Power vibes. So it's like I get that part. So I was curious before I found out it was Courtney Kemp. I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. But I was like, oh, y'all freaky. You just went to a party just to do it in somebody else's house. I was confused.
Yeah, same. So me knowing a little bit about the series going in, I was like, okay, I thought initially that, well, which in essence, essentially it was a part of the heist, but I thought that right there was like, okay, well, maybe he's sneaking up to, sneak around upstairs. But, that wasn't the whole thing. It was like, yeah, we're going to pretend that we're getting on a little freak on. And then I got a whole nother situation and a whole nother part of this big old house that I got to take care of, which is him and his crew robbing the people for the casino night. So they had a little underground poker game going on, and they were like, we know we can hit them up for some cash and some other things. That gets them in trouble later, but I thought it was pretty clever.
Yeah, I was definitely there for the swerve. I was like, oh, y'all have something else planned? Like, you planned it because, I don't want to jump ahead, but you kind of see like he's a very smart person. So it's not like, oh, we're just going to decide to rob this house. Like, they had it all planned, executed. Like, I love when a good plan like happens and it goes well, which I feel like, I don't know about you, but for me, it's like, it's my success rate of the plan going exactly how it's supposed to go. I'm not really successful. So kudos to them.
Listen, okay. And the whole situation, operation, like I said, we'll get into later throughout these episodes, but the whole way they have their operation set up is like, I almost want to be a bad guy. I guess like you can plan and execute things without having to be a criminal, but I don't know. It just seemed like it adds a little more excitement to that.
Yeah.
Like,
no, okay.
So I think I might, right?
I've always, I don't know if this is gonna get me in trouble. I've always wanted to be an assassin. Like, if I could do it over again, I would love to be an assassin. I just think it just that should have been my life. So I was here for all of it.
We're crazy. Definitely. So like another part of what was cool about this heist was it's Halloween. They're dressed up. They're dressed up as robbers, like bank robbers. Got the bags marked with the money, full of that, and I was like, they are so clever. But Coltrane had this night, which I want to talk about because at first I was like, okay, 90s vibe, I see you, but then I realized it was an homage to New Jack City. Because Mario Van Peebles was involved with this project, who was also directed New Jack City.
I didn't really. Oh my god!
I
I
was
saw
like,
Married than
that's
People. I was
crazy.
like, oh, I see. Okay, right there. Y'all did it.
Like
Y'all did
that.
it. Okay.
I was like, I love that moment. I love that moment. But again, like we talked about their plan, they have everything executed, but there's always a knucklehead. There's always somebody who's going to probably throw your plan off, and that is Dion. We're going to talk about him a little bit more, but like I said, they stole some other things. They're supposed to be just going in for the money, just the money.
Mm-hmm.
And here goes
Mm-hmm.
Dion, like, oh, that's a nice watch. I'm not going to say it because I never pronounce it wrong because my bracket ain't up there, but he
Yeah,
takes the
there's
watch,
none.
which is one of those watches that's like, okay, has like the serial number, it's traceable. Sir, you should know better. Why are we stealing stuff that's not a part of the plan?
Yeah, but so here's the thing. It's kind of like, and I'm gonna ruin this analogy. I don't even know if it's correct analogy, but it's just kind of like you can't bring everybody with you. And so it's one of those things where this is the perfect example. It's like, yo, we're trying to do this for this reason. It's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna terrible horrible analogy. Like you're gonna be a stripper, right? But you're stripping for a purpose. It's like, I want to strip to like get this house, right? But instead, you bring your friend, and your friend's trying to like travel the world and spend the money. And that to me is like Dion. He's like, the goal
Yeah.
with the stripping is not, it's not connected. You can't bring everybody
He's
to the
not
strip club.
connecting. He's so reckless. Like, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
you can't take everybody with you because they can't be your downfall. And we're gonna get into that later, talking a little more about on. But I also want to say the first episode really, really laid the foundation for this whole series because we're also
Mm-hmm.
introduced to Isaiah Styles' dad, Amos, aka Nightmare, who's a part of the street life and all of that. But I think something that stood out to me and stands out about Isaiah's character, again, like I said, he's a detective, right? But from the very
Mm-hmm.
beginning, we see he doesn't really dress like a detective. He has his street clothes on. He's a cool kid. So you already know he's not, you know what I mean, playing by the rules with his job. And so then we meet his dad, and it's like, oh, it all makes sense. You know what I mean? Again, the dad is a street dude. And then the dad is like, no, Isaiah told the dad, like, I'm not built like you. And the dad
Mm-hmm.
is like, basically, you are. You just have a
Yeah.
badge to justify your gunplay
Yeah.
because you're
For sure.
really one and the same.
And then a little bit like on the
But
casting though, like, because I want to kind of know, like, when did his dad have him? Because his dad looks like like he had him when he was like 13. Like, it's just uh what we doing? What we doing? I want a little bit more of a backstory, like, and obviously the mom passed away, so I'm just kind of like,
mhm. He
how
could have
did
been
this
young.
come?
They
How did this
threw
come out?
a few
Yeah,
grays in there for hairs.
yeah.
So I
Threw
think so.
threw a few.
But
Yeah.
you mentioning the you mentioning the mom takes me to a fan point where a lot of fans are speculating that Charlie, who is Ebony's sister, Ebony is Coltrane's wife, is
Hmm.
possibly Isaiah's mom. Now, that theory to me doesn't really make sense. The things don't add up. But I'm just like, could she, though, somehow be related
Wow.
to Isaiah and them?
Wow. That's a
Because when you
swerve.
think about it, that's a swerve. That is a swerve. But she would know, I feel like, a little more. And then I'm, of course, like, you're going to be this hard down on getting your son, you know what I'm saying, killed or whatever, because she's
Right.
really on Isaiah's top. Not only that, in the future, some things happen with Noah, who would be her grandson. Noah's Isaiah's son. So, like, I was like, that theory, I don't know. But at the same
Yeah.
time, a lot of times writers and creators, they look at what the fans have said and incorporate it
Hmm.
some kind of way in the next season. So we'll see if Courtney kind of plays around with us with the idea of like, could there be? Again, it doesn't really add up, but they may take a stab at
Yeah.
it.
I can't see it, but well, I'm at one point I thought, oh, they don't want a season 2, and then how they finish is like, okay, they're definitely aiming for a season, because I was concerned. There's a couple episodes like, what we doing? Well, where we going? So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
definitely see. Okay, there's some possibilities.
Yeah. As I was watching, I think getting into like episode 5, which we'll talk about, but I was like, it seems like we can kind of wrap this up. I was like, I know we have what, like 3 more episodes left, but it was seeming like, is this a mini series and not a full?
Right?
Again, it just seems like, sorry, like we can wrap this
Yeah.
up.
Right. I was like, oh, we just did
So
one season because it's one of those things where I'm thinking about like Sterling K. Brown from Paradise when he had this whole thing that he came out
mhm,
and he said, networks are just looking at short episodes, short seasons, stuff like that. So I was just like, oh, they're just doing a one-off. All right, cool. And then
mhm.
yeah, other things happen. I'm like, oh, was this done on purpose or did they get a new writer? Like, Courtney, please come on the show because I there's questions. There's definitely questions.
We got some things, right? We have questions, some things to talk about. Let's move into episode 2, which a lot of things are happening here. I mainly want to talk about Isaiah when we're focusing on episode 2, because this is where we see how obsessed he is with arrested Coltrane and how
Mhm.
obsessed he is with his job and putting his job above his family, just above everything, his wife, his son. Like, I was like, I mean, again, because we already know, yes, Coltrane is a criminal. So as a viewer, we know that Isaiah is actually right, but his coworkers, his boss, they don't know that. He doesn't have substantial evidence to prove that, like, I could arrest Coltrane
Mhm.
for these robberies. So again, he is just so adamant about like finding the evidence, finding what he needs, and is abandoning his family. What do you think about Isaiah's character?
Well, I mean, I think it's cops, coaches, and there might be some other ones. They're like the top people who get divorced. Like, how can you not
Mm,
get invested into like your job, especially if you are a detective? It's one of those things that like you're getting so close to. Like, I'm sure you have like you have a project and you normally go to bed at, I don't know, 11, but all of a sudden it's like, yo, I have to get this project done, and now you find yourself 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I feel like that's the case. And then the fact that he lost his partner, and then his brother has already passed away, his mom's already passed away. I think he feels like he has to solve this, else like what is he there for? So I feel like there's more. I honestly feel like he needs some therapy. If you don't have a therapist, he definitely needs to get one because there's so much unpacking
okay.
there to do.
He definitely needs therapy. The funny
Oh,
thing
so
is,
some
it's
Jesus
so much
some
unpacking. The funny thing is, even though they didn't touch on this too much, but his wife is a therapist. Like, you got it
Oh, is
right
that
there
what she
at
does?
home. Mm-hmm.
And his wife is banging
Because when
too.
they were
Oh my
having dinner,
goodness.
he was like, "Okay, doctor, so and so." But then, yeah, she talked about patience and stuff like that. So yeah, she's a therapist, but he definitely needs some help. And I think that for me watching, I'm like, "You're irritating me." I was just so irritated by him, but at the same time, I was like, "Okay, yes." If someone killed your partner, someone you were really close to, and he really took to him because he was like younger than him, the partner was, and he
Hmm.
really took to him and like bringing him up in that industry, and then somebody kills them on duty while you're trying to, protect everybody in the scenario, being a cop. But it's like, I don't know, like the character just did not make me want to root for him. Like, even though I understand your loss, your
Hmm.
antics just like didn't make me want to root for you.
It was almost like a 3-year-old. Like it's just kind of like we get
Mm-hmm.
it, but here's the thing. It's kind of like he's been a cop for so long. Maybe he's gotten he like never received the attention, if that makes sense. Because the sergeant kept saying he's a good cop, he's a good cop, he's a good cop. So I don't know if it's up until that point, like he was doing everything by the book, and then this happened. Because also too, like it just there's certain things that just didn't make sense. Like it's a lot of unpacking to do with him. Like I was just kind of confused on some things as far as like, why are you, yes, if you pin them to um killing your what's it called, um not your
His
agent,
partner.
killing his partner, it's like, okay, but
Mm-hmm.
how did we get to this point? Is there's like a lot of unpacking and like some confusion on my side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see like we know now, like again, now the Coltrane is doing all this, but I think it was only one heist, or at least the backstory that we're getting is there's only one heist before that. You know what I mean? And then that's the one where his partner was killed. So where is all the other information coming from that you're like, oh, it's Coltrane. I gotta bring him down. You know what I mean? When it seemed like it was just
Right,
one incident before that.
right.
Like,
Well,
of
was it
course you would still want to be like, I gotta get the guy, but still it's like
right?
there's so much buildup where you thought there was more that happened.
Right. Well, is it one? It was one heist that he connected them to, because remember when? Well, we'll get to that eventually. Like Coltrane kind of backtracks with all the little bags of money. So I'm assuming that's like the individual heist. But I'm not. Yeah, yeah. There's Courtney. Y'all need to come and there's we need to talk this through.
That could make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Like Coltrane got the bags. But
Mm-hmm.
that's a good point. We'll get to that. I think that's around. Make mental note of that. That's for our second half because I think that's on the second half of the
Mm-hmm.
series. But yeah, we get things starting to heat up in this episode, and that's what I did feel like things were. I was hooked, and I'm very intrigued by it. But I felt like it was happening like kind of fast. So we're only on the second heist, right? And we got Dion messing up again. This
Mm-hmm.
mess up now, they ended up having to kill some people, the security guards, when they're doing this diamond heist at the jewelry store.
Mm-hmm.
So now they got bodies on their hands. Now the police are really, especially Isaiah, is really on them now. Like, I really got to get you, and putting all the attention on them. And it's just, again, like, Dion, come on, man.
Yeah, this is where Coltrane needed
What
to
did you think?
follow his instinct. Is kind of like he should have got rid of
Mm-hmm.
Dion after the watch, because I'm sure this is not the first time he's messed up. And so his uncle, which is the funny part with his uncle who's older than him, which is common. It's not common, but you've seen it. It's just
You've
kind of one
seen
of those
it.
things where yeah, you've seen it. It's kind of one of those things where it's like you almost have to follow your instinct, because if he had followed his
Mm-hmm.
instinct, obviously this was for television, but he had followed his instinct in real life, a lot of other things wouldn't have happened, and
Right.
everybody would have
Then I
been
guess
home
then we
still.
don't have a show to talk about.
Yeah, right. But it's one of those things like, yeah, just cut him loose, call it a day.
Cut him loose. Cut him loose. His character is really funny too, because so I was at the premiere for Nemesis, and Courtney Kim talked about how this show was also like a love letter to LA, which was cute with the LA slang, a lot of the locations and everything. But a lot of fans are like, or a lot of fans that are LA natives are like, ooh, y'all, it might have been too much love. You overdid it a little bit.
Yeah,
Now,
can we talk
I
about it?
I was okay with the cuz and all of that. Huh?
Yeah, let's talk about it,
I
because
missed it.
yeah, let's talk about it. Like, because yeah, a
So
lot of LA folks are not about that.
they're not about it. They're not about it. And I was gonna say, like, I didn't have a problem with all the cuz, but I'm not an LA native. So I guess it was overdone for them. It was too much emphasis on him being a Crip and using, C for everything, on my C day, or, just the things like that. And then also you have the who they robbed earlier, who Dion stole the watch from, when he was giving the cops the play-by-play, and he's like, yeah, he said cuz, and then I got need this for my C day. And it just sounded so disingenuous coming from this white guy, which maybe in reality it would still sound that way, but he didn't deliver it to me. And also, fun fact, if people didn't realize, that's Sax from Power, the guy who he stole the watch from. But also the funny part to me was when they were crip walking, and it's episode 4, I believe, like that. So it was Stro and him, and they were at
Mhm.
Dion's mom's house. It was her birthday, and they having a little moment, and their song comes on. The crip walk was so bad. I didn't think it was a crip walk. I thought it was just like their nephew, uncle dance. You know what I'm saying? You know how like you made dances up with your cousins when you was growing up. I thought it was one of those moments. I didn't even realize it was supposed to be crip walking.
Okay.
They were just to me.
Um, yeah, it was it's one of those things, being of West Indian descent, when somebody is playing like another island, but they have a Jamaican accent. Like it was just one of those things where it's just like I
Mm-hmm.
understand, but then it's also like all the stereotypes, and I can see why some people are frustrated by it, because it's like, yes, some people do say that. Um, the ones I've been around are not as over the top, but also probably because I'm a foreigner, they might not. I don't know. It's just it was a bit much for me, and I'm not an LA native. It just seemed like it just seemed like the person who included it was not an LA native. Like they probably have like friends. It's almost like it's almost like the Kevin Hart roast, and all the writers are white, and so it's like, oh, you've been to the cookout, but like you're right. It seemed a little bit over the top, and that all the LA people that I know, like from LA proper, they were not impressed.
Yeah, same. I've just been seeing on socials like I was like, oh, I didn't think it was that bad. Besides the dance part. And so yeah, like I said earlier, I think maybe, and like you said, so one, a little too much love, you don't have to overdo it. And then also I don't think it was an LA native in the room. So they didn't know when to stop.
Yeah, I mean, do you think? See, that's another question. We got a list of questions for Courtney because I'm curious about that. I'm really curious about that. Like, given the fact how they misrepresent Black people a lot, you would think that in a show like this, that they would, double down and get somebody that has that experience. Like, shoot, like. I think my thought was like, yo, where Ice Cube at? Like, he couldn't even just be a consultant on it. Like, I feel like things would have been a little bit different, but I might be wrong.
Probably, but for me, I'm already locked into the show, so I was like, it didn't make me like turn it off, because sometimes things can be too much on a show, and you're just like, I'm not here for it anymore. I'm checking out, but it wasn't that bad. Now,
Yeah, once I
moving
got
on
past
to
like
episode.
episode 4, it's just like I'm committed. I'm already in it. I have to see it through, especially
Yeah.
being only 8 episodes too.
Yeah, and then that was like the halfway mark, episode 4, where things are really, really turning and going crazy. So just to backtrack real quick with episode 3, this is when we get our first showdown with Coltrane and Isaiah Styles. So Isaiah is at this banquet or something to support his wife, who Coltrane is the sponsor for the whole event. So then they have this like standoff. I think we have the picture of like them in that moment, this standoff of like 2 men, 2 big shots. And Coltrane even said it at one moment, like, when we have this moment, one man is supposed to bow down to the other. But neither one was like backing down. My favorite part of that scene where Isaiah is like, dude, you're playing with fire. Coltrane's like, I am Prometheus. I bring the fire. Like, you don't scare me none.
There were some banger lines. I think that's what, I don't want to speak for you, but I think that's what had me continue to watch. It was just like there was some stuff like the cut and all that stuff. I was like, but then some of the writing was just so good. I was just like, okay, I see where you're going with that. So I think that's where the balance was, and I think that's why people still continued with it versus just write it off as like a terrible show.
Definitely. That's what kept me intrigued. And another thing that kept me intrigued, like we talked about earlier, with Isaiah, being not your run-of-the-mill type of detective, having his suits and stuff like that on. He's basically a street dude. And then you having this encounter where it's like, Isaiah, I need you to recognize that you are basically one of them. You know what I mean? This is another moment where they are like seeing each other. And Isaiah, no, you're not a criminal per se. You again have some antics about yourself, but it's like you're still trying to sit on this high horse. Like, I don't know, what am I trying to say? Like, there's a contrast between the two, right? But then there's also not, right? So you have a detective and a criminal, and usually those two are from opposite walks of life. Whereas in this instance with these two, it's like not so much. Y'all are kind of close to being one and the same.
I mean, I think that's the case with a lot of things. Sometimes there's like that gray area, because if you were to think about it, like nobody's perfect, right? So now it's up to, your circle or yourself or whatever your moral compass is. But like, if you were to take like the 10 commandments, for instance, like lying isn't one of them, but like lying is one of them. But it's one of those things, like we've seen him do that plenty of times. Like we've seen him do so many, like the necklace, what he put on his wife. I can't remember what episode that was, but it's like he broke so many rules And I think that's the same with a lot of people. Like, you're not above anybody else. Just because you feel like you're walking these set of rules, for instance, the person who says I have to feed my family by any means necessary, and they go and rob a store in order to feed their family, like, the robbing was not great, but then it was to take care of their family. And I
Mhm.
think anybody in those positions would do that. They won't let their kids or whatever, whoever, starve. So I think it's that's where the writing, if you really looked into it, exactly what you're saying, it's just kind of like, okay, well, what are we doing with that?
Mhm. I don't mean to interrupt our flow, but I do hear like static a little bit when you're talking.
I could oh, let's see. Well, continue talking. I'm gonna restart.
Okay. Okay, cool. Now, mentioning that necklace takes us into episode 4, because that's when that happens with Isaiah trying to bug Candace, his wife, while she's going to visit Ebony at her home, which, fun fact, backtracking episode 1, they let us in on that, the fact that the wives are friends, which was crazy to me. So I was like, oh, how is this going to play out? So now we see that they aren't really too much involved in the husband's activities. Ebony used to be, but she was like, she wants out. She's very aware of what Coltrane does. Again, was a part of the organization at first, but wants to back out, doesn't want to be so involved. Trying to, be more of a businesswoman and not so much these criminal activities. Anywho, so Candace goes by her house. Their girlfriends, they're kikiing it up. But Candace is wearing this Van Cleef necklace. That's the one that Styles gave her that was bugged. And I was just like, sir. And at first, I thought maybe Candace was in on it. I thought maybe he was a
Mhm.
good husband, an honest person, and was like, babe, wear this because, like, whatever's going on, I need this intel. Cool. You did it without her knowing. Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, that's the thing. Let me know if I'm still getting static. That's the thing that I was like wondering. Like, it seemed like she had no idea what was going on. And for him to do that, I mean, I guess he didn't want her a part of the case, which makes sense.
Mm.
But for him to do that, again, breaking the rules for what? So I think the bigger question, especially where Styles is concerned, is will you sacrifice your family in order to get this case closed? Because then once the case is
Mhm.
closed and you don't have a family, then what?
Then what? I still hear the static a little bit though.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel the same with you because then what? What's next after you close this case? But then you have lost your family. You know what I mean? Then backtrack. I skipped this part, but in episode 2, when Styles and his son Noah are out to lunch, and Styles is supposed to be focusing on Noah and their relationship, and then he hears a call for the Diamond Heist situation going down, and runs out like, "Oh, son, you gotta go. Send your Uber back home." Like, and again, it's like you can't understand him because again, like we said before, if you are working on something, right, and then here you are, it's going down. You also know that they created a distraction, and so there's all these squad cars that are at another scene, trying to handle something else. So you're like, oh, they go there, so I gotta go. But it's like, do you though? Because now it's over when you get there. You didn't stop anything. You could have gotten all the information and everything like that after the fact, as you mostly did. So again, I don't know. I just had so many moments for Isaiah that turned me off on him. And again, going back to Candace and this whole situation, that necklace was like the biggest betrayal. And I also feel like I talked about this in one of my reviews. Like, that's why he got his feelings hurt. Because so when he went to that gala, there was this guy, the district attorney being honored. His name is Marcus. And they all three of them went to school together, Marcus, Isaiah, and Candace. And so then we find out Candace and Marcus used to date for like a little bit. And on paper, Marcus was like the better choice. But Candace really fell for Styles, right? The bad boy image. But now we see that she's having second thoughts because of Isaiah's antics and all of this. Like, dang, maybe I should have went with the suit. Maybe I should have went with the guy that was, better on paper. And she's saying all this to Ebony while Styles is listening. And it's like, that's what you get. Because you shouldn't have bugged your wife without her knowing.
It's just like those that adage where I'm sure we've seen it on
Oh
television
wait,
all the
I
time,
can't
where
hear
it's like,
you at all now.
oh, can you not hear me? What about now? No.
I could just
Oh,
see that you said that, but I can't hear you.
oh my goodness. Oh wait. I got it.
Okay. Well,
Uh,
maybe like I will keep going.
how about now?
But yeah, so he got some
Wait.
intel, a little bit of intel that he needed, but that was still just to me. That was foul. That was messed up. But in that moment, he goes to pick Candace up from the house, and um, oh, shoot, I'm sorry, y'all. Now I don't know how to get back to the. Okay, there we go. Still can't hear, but anywho, so
Well,
he goes to pick Candace up, and in that moment, he takes advantage of being able to be in Coltrane's house. So he's in Coltrane's office, sneaking around, and then he sees a chess game, and he makes a move. And I was like, oh, okay. You want him to know that you're there. Okay, bold of you, very bold. So then when Coltrane gets back, Ebony tells him, like, I can stop him, very awkward. He was like, that's fine. What were you to do in that moment? And then as Coltrane is about to leave the room, he notices the chessboard is different and that Isaiah made a move. Now, the move that Isaiah made was the King's Gambit. I don't know anything about chess, but I was like, let me look it up. This has to be significant if he made that move. And so I had notes on the King's Gambit. Okay, so basically that is a move to like kind of forcibly to force the opponent's hand into doing something else, right? Either giving up your
hmm
pawns or, you've got to make a move. You've got to do something. I'm forcing your hand in this. And so to me, I was like, oh, okay. And I believe in that moment that represented Dion. Now, later on in episode 4, again, Dion, oh gosh. So as we mentioned, he messed up at the diamond heist, right? So then that goes bust. They're not able to sell those diamonds. It goes awry.
hmm
And so now he's trying to, fix the situation and goes to sell the diamonds. Unbeknownst to him, he's selling to the undercover cop. So now they got Dion. And so basically, I think when him making that chess move was like, we got one of your boys. So what are you going to do next? I said, that was smart
Right.
with the writers. That was really smart.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think wait, can you hear me now?
but yeah,
Can you hear me? Can
before
you
I
hear
say
me?
everything kind of turns
Still?
around.
No? Okay.
Um, Still can't hear. Everything turns around in episode 4 because now you have Dion, who has won. The police are on him. They know more about him. They set up this sale to get the diamonds, which is a bust. I guess, Dion figures it out. He hears the cops coming. So he burned everything down. He took one for the team and also took himself out on that. So that's, I guess, a real loyal one. Because if you're going to mess up, I guess, at least you don't take the whole team down with you,
Can
I
you
guess.
hear me now?
But that just makes sorry that just makes the whole show like even that more exciting. What is going to happen now? You got Dion that got shot up. I would say like he went out like Cleo and set it off because they took him out bad. But so much went down in episode 4. Not only that moment with Isaiah going into Coltrane's house, you have the situation with Dion. You have let me see, sorry. You have the moment where like Stro, Dion's nephew, is so he's trying to play both sides of the fence. Basically, Stro is where he's really cool with Coltrane, so he's trying to honor Coltrane's wishes, which is like keep a close eye on Dion, and Dion is his uncle, and he's trying to respect that relationship. But Dion keeps messing up, so now Stro is going on another assignment, and Dion goes off too. But the mom, Dion's mom, it's family complications things. Dion's mom, aka Stroh's grandma, right, had this premonition basically. It was like a foreshadowing moment where she was like, I just saw you crying. Like, I don't know what happened, but I just saw you crying. And I knew right then and there, I was like, oh,
Yeah,
they're gonna
somebody's
get
about to
Dion.
die. Can you hear me
That's
now?
it. That foreshadowing.
No? What is going on? Okay.
Mm-mm. No. Oh no. So typical. I'm like, did you unplug it and plug it back in? Oh no, I can't hear you at all. Sorry for the technical difficulty, guys, for those watching.
What about now?
It's not coming
I'm
back.
seeing my mic. We'll just go on. Keep on going.
All right, well, we're going to keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. Well, actually, we can actually wrap this up here because we just wanted to focus on episodes 1 through 4. Through this recap, we're going to hit up another session for 5 through 8. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Come back and see us for that. But yeah, like I said, episode 4 is really when things get to changing around and it's going down. So we're going to wrap this one up. Make sure you guys come back for episodes 5 through 8.
Live from the intersection of culture, entertainment, music, and vibes, you're tapped into Control TV Network. Original voices, real conversations, unfiltered energy. This is Control TV.